Nearly there, Allura whispered to Jack as they approached the entrance to the school district. Several other groups of students were already crowded around the penultimate checkpoint, and the Aladri sighed internally as she knew the queues to get past the prefects were only going to get worse. "I'll be alright," Jack groaned, as he took a sip of lukewarm tea from his flask. "I'm super jealous of Dante, though. They just flopped on the sofa right in front of us." "Sadly for us, however, we need to get an education," Nika grinned, as dubious as that may be. "Something's happening up ahead," Chio interrupted them as they joined the mass of students looking to get into the school. Though there was a bottleneck at the checkpoint, it wasn't due to the local militia, as there was something else just beyond that. A large crowd of curious students had stopped and gathered around a green-robed figure standing on a makeshift podium. Several others were walking around with boxes, handing out several small objects with leaflets to passers-by, who seemed very eager to take them, with one of the green-robed figures casting a quick spell to replenish the contents. "We greet you, seekers of knowledge," the figure on the podium called out, his voice carrying a certain allure that made more and more people stop to listen. "Have you ever felt that there could be more to your existence? Have you ever felt that a better reality awaits you, ready to be grasped?" As they made it past the checkpoint, Jack could see several of the students exchange glances, their curiosity piqued, though he had no doubt the free Nutribars they had been given compelled the students to at least hear them out as a basic courtesy. "The Emerald King shall lead the way," the speaker cried out, and now that he was closer, Jack could see it was a humanoid being with pale blue translucent skin, with several bright green markings all along their serene-looking face. "No longer will you need to starve in the streets. No longer will you need to cower in your homes. No longer will you need to fear the threats to the city. Join us! Join us and become part of something greater than yourselves, and feast on sustenance and knowledge alike." "Sounds like they'll say anything to get these people interested," Allura noted, as Scifi quickly made the rounds between several different cultists handing out leaflets and food, effortlessly taking several nutrient bars from each, without them noticing the squitter's light fingers. "Speaking of interested," Nika noted, nodding towards another disturbance in the crowd, as a squad of prefects made their way towards them. Jack, being tall enough, noticed the yellow-furred Rena among them as they approached the cultists who were handing out leaflets to several eager students who wanted to learn more about the Emerald King. "You are not welcome here. Leave the school premises immediately, or you will be terminated," Rena coolly told the assembled cultists, and somehow her voice carried, projecting her authority and causing many of the assembled students to swiftly move on. "All students are to disperse and be on your way. This unauthorized gathering is now over." Several of the students immediately began to leave, not wanting to get involved. However, others remained behind, who did not take kindly to the crackdown, while yet more others simply stayed to watch the fireworks. "Why shouldn't they stay?" a dissenting voice in the crowd bravely spoke up. "The price of food is too damn high and these people are feeding us." "Let them stay! We're hungry!" another voice added. "If the Emerald King wants to feed us, then I say he's welcome." An avian girl in the crowd stood up, yelling at Rena. "Yeah, fuck off, prefects!" An anonymous voice in the crowd yelled. "Nobody likes you!" "This isn't going to end well," Allura murmured to the others. "Yep, good thing it isn't our problem. Time to go," Nika warned, just as an object came flying out from the crowd, speeding towards the gathered prefects. Several of the students gasped, as with a blurry quick movement, Rena caught the water bottle, without even turning her gaze away. "You all heard me," Rena coolly told the gathered crowd. "Comply, or suffer the consequences." "The grace of the Emerald King transcends the limitations of your institution." The cultist speaker held up a hand to signal peace, with a sly smile on his face as he signaled to his fellows to leave as told. "You cannot truly suppress his message, but for now we shall depart." As the cultists dispersed, The prefects soon turned their attention to the remaining students, loudly encouraging them to move on.
Damn it! I was really hoping to see the prefects get their asses kicked, Scifi grinned. Honestly, fucking with a free food supply when hyperinflation ramped up the prices? How dumb can you get?
Yeah, Jack agreed with a tired grin, as he started moving away. Though there's definitely something weird about those cultists. I can't blame people for getting desperate and going for it if they're hungry. They were pretty creepy when we met them last time, but they didn't seem particularly dangerous. If I were the prefects, I'd let it slide, or at least monitor them to make sure there isn't any grooming going on. Guys, watch out! Tshirt tried to warn them, but it was too late. It is not your place to question school policy, the cold voice of Rena interjected as she approached the group. Only obey it. I would expect the companions of a class representative to conduct themselves more appropriately, especially on school grounds. Why are you approaching us, Rena? Allura asked as calmly as she could. As you've ordered, we are clearly dispersing. It's none of your damn business what we think, Rena, Nika added bluntly, thumbing the holster of her shotgun. If I think you're an annoying pain in the ass that needs to get a life, I don't think there's anything you can do to stop me thinking that. Rena narrowed her eyes dangerously at the Kizzen, who seemed equally pissed off at the prefect. Nika grinning as she mentally prepared herself for a fight. Scifi subtly moved to flank around behind the prefect, but judging by the subtle movement of the Volsa's ears, Rena knew exactly where the Skritter was. Answer Allura's question or leave us alone, Jack growled at Rena, whose face snapped to Jack's in an instant, and glowered even more as the sleep-deprived human added, Now, I don't know what's crawled up your hairy yellow ass to make you such an insufferable cunt, but I'm getting kinda sick of it. Nika's right. Get a fucking life. Gasps rang out from all around them at Jack's brutal words, as Rena twitched slightly, before she coldly informed them, I was actually approaching you to ask about your previous encounter with the cult of the Emerald King, which I overheard you talking about, Frost. The Volster told Jack with narrowed eyes, though I noticed several uniform policy infractions as well. I shall give you an official reprimand for your loose tie, and perhaps your disrespect shall improve later in the day once I give you your written warning. We shall fix the tie, Rena, Allura nodded, as she tried to hold a visibly angry Jack back from immediately attacking the prefect then and there, while Tshirt went to dissuade Nika, with Scifi holding back on her own, as she saw there wasn't going to be a fight, with Rena also giving the Skritter a warning side glance, as she quickly left. Oh, come on, you two! Nika angrily shook Tshirt off the moment Rena got out of sight. Why play nice and back down? We could have taken that bitch. Yeah, Jack agreed, the sudden rush of adrenaline waking him up. Every time she talks to us, she has to try and use her authority to give us crap. Dissuading her from ever bothering us again isn't a bad move. Back on Earth, her harassment would probably get her into trouble. Even if I agree with the logic, we are far too mentally exhausted to make that kind of decision, Tshirt warned, and Rena has not done anything to warrant a physical assault. Aside from being a pain in the ass, Scifi shrugged. Jack and Nika are right. Every time she talks to us, she's a bitch. If I get the opportunity to dish it back, I'm up for taking it. You all need to calm down, right now, Allura sternly told them. Tshirt right. Even with the Ring of Lesser Restoration, the lack of sleep on top of all we had to go through is making us crankier than usual. Sure, Rena can take her position as a prefect a little too seriously, but that's not a reason to start a fight. No, Jack shrugged, as he began unsurely, trying his best to understand the wiser of his friends. But I don't trust Rena at all. I remember when I encountered her during the clown attack at the party. I just fought Dr. Gride and she shows up immediately after. She goes off on her own before I find Nia, and she brought in a bunch of strange Stygians who tried to sneak into the temporary hospital afterwards. I think she may be an enemy, even if Nia's been trustworthy. A good distance away, the eavesdropping Rena stifled her shock on hearing the human's words. Why did he think of her as an enemy? She did not understand. Finally, we get to sit down and relax, Scifi sighed in relief, as they all quickly got to their seats, sitting down next to Jack, with Allura on his other side. "Well, we should wait until the lights are out and the film begins," Chio cautioned. "But yes, sitting down and recuperating is what I've been looking forward to." "No matter what happens, we're taking it easy tonight," Allura told them, in no uncertain terms. "If we get any job offers, we can at least look and see if it's promising, but after last night, I don't even want to think about doing any work. Sit down and watch some movies or something, and have an early night." "Yeah, the others can keep watch and wake us up if there's anything really bad," Nika shrugged. "Though after last night's shit show, we might be getting some more residents." "When do you think the city will calm down and get more normal?" Jack asked, suppressing a yawn as other students piled in. "If last night was the peak, then it'll usually start winding down for a while," Scifi reassured him. "Then either things will die down outright, or they'll peak back up again if the megacorps feel brave enough, or create an opportunity they can exploit." "Unfortunately, I suspect the latter," Chio pointed out. "The news reports mentioned Corvin Enterprises are currently on top, which isn't a good thing." "Yeah," Nika agreed. "Corvin Enterprises are particularly hated by the other megacorps. They won't be taking this lying down, so expect the fighting to continue." "Should we worry about them coming our way, or any of our friends getting caught in the crossfire?" Jack asked, thinking about Clan Ashtail's tea garden. "Hopefully not, but you saw firsthand how bad it can get." Allura gave him a sympathetic smile. "For our part, we're a good distance away from any important corporate building, and they don't have much interest in taking over our section of the city. There's plenty of territory outside the city if they wish to expand their operations," Chio pointed out, "and many megacorps do. Sometimes there are news reports of migration convoys or ships leaving the city to colonize other parts of the ring, and there are entire towns out there created or taken over by various megacorps, for whatever reason. Certain megacorps would take over the city if they could, but right now they can never do it successfully or sustainably." "Yeah," Scifi agreed. "Sometimes megacorps can take over a few independent neighboring districts if they're desperate enough to expand their city operations without making things hot, but they just as often abandon operations in others if they're not pulling a profit, which are usually then reclaimed. Most of them don't usually make it a hostile takeover, though. They're more likely to negotiate with local authorities to take over, in return for giving protection and granting corporate citizenship to the local residents. Keeping good PR and not expending company resources is key to their profits, after all, if it's a small operation." "Makes sense, I guess," Jack nodded. "But that's not what we saw last night. Those Mirrodin guys that attacked us seemed pretty bloodthirsty." "I'd say that most of the time, any outright publicly aggressive actions the megacorps make are against each other, though there will be times when all bets are off," Nika pointed out. "There are several notable exceptions, and those are the ones you normally hear about on the news or making power plays in the cities you need to watch out for. Mirrodin are a notorious example, Corvin Enterprises another. High risks, high rewards, and that doesn't even take into account what happens in the shadows." "Correct me if I'm wrong," Jack began, "but I believe Vanya mentioned that one of the megacorps fought the Killer Clown last time they showed up, before I arrived." "Yes," Chio noted. "That was Corvin Enterprises, though we don't know the actual details of what happened when the Killer Clown attacked them. There is some footage circling around, but most of what came out of that are wild rumors and Corvin propaganda. What is agreed on is that Corvin Enterprises won that engagement, and the Killer Clown wasn't seen again for 2 years until, well, you saw it yourself on TV." "The point is," Allura concluded, before they went further off the original topic, "our part of the city isn't one that's going to be in the direct crosshairs of a corporate war, since we shouldn't have anything they want that they can't more easily obtain elsewhere, and not many megacorps have an interest in messing with the school or the Temple of Hope, or the districts they have any influence over. However, that doesn't mean they won't try something. Game theory is very much in play here, and certain megacorps have made some unusual moves before." "Great," Jack sighed. "But you're saying the chances are that we should be alright?" "Maybe a few patrols to demonstrate strength or take out a local store, or maybe a warehouse," Chio shrugged. "But we should be alright. There are, however, notable exceptions to the rule as far as megacorps are concerned." But before Chio could elaborate, Mr. Sparrow wandered in.
"Ah,
good morning, everybody, the dapper Squorry called out, causing everybody to hush their conversations. I hope you all had a safe evening from the unpleasantness going on last night, and are sheltered and prepared safe and well. We've just got 2 announcements this morning, but I'll let one of our class representatives speak on that matter. Jack quickly looked to Alora, but saw that the Eladri hadn't moved, looking worried as her eyes followed Rena, who emotionlessly made her way to the front of the lecture theatre, not looking their way as several of the students whispered to their classmates. Rena ignored it all as she looked to Mr. Sparrow for permission to speak, who nodded at the Volster with a reassuring smile. "Class," she began, her frosty voice projecting all throughout the room. "Following an incident on school property earlier today, I am here to inform you of an important concern some of you may be unaware of." Her eyes snapped around to make sure all were paying attention before she continued, though her gaze narrowed as she saw the bored and tired expression of Jack. The prefect body recently had an encounter with representatives belonging to the cult of the Emerald King. These cultists present themselves as purveyors of community and secret knowledge, attempting to use gifts of food to attract an audience. Their presence on school grounds is forbidden, as is interacting with them. They are an insidious influence that seek to take advantage of those they encounter. Therefore, you are all to demonstrate appropriate caution, and not fall to their influence. A few students leaned forward, curiously at the words, looking uneasy, while others nodded their agreement at the prefect's words. Yet, amidst the nodding heads, there were murmurs and whispers of discontent at Rena's lecture to them. Rena continued, her tone resolute. "The cult of the Emerald King will make promises that will appear tempting, but true enlightenment and prosperity will not come from surrendering yourselves to a danger you may not yet fully comprehend." "She knows something," Scifi whispered under her breath. Though Rena was impossible to read, there was something that sounded strange to the Skritter in that moment. "Chio, can you read her aura?" "I cannot." Chio shook her head slightly at Scifi. "Rena's abilities block me from seeing her in the astral, but I believe you are right. There is something else at play here, not that it's our problem." "If anybody knows anything about the cult of the Emerald King, or has encountered them before," Rena concluded, "please speak to me." "You're right," Jack sarcastically muttered under his breath, as Rena stepped back. "Yes," Mr. Sparrow added, seeing that the more rebellious among the pupils weren't swayed by Rena's words. "This Emerald King may seem exciting to the curious, but they are likely taking advantage of the current troubles. I'd stay away from them even if they offer food, though to that point..." Mr. Sparrow made a motion with his hand, summoning several plastic bags from his personal dimensional rift, placing them on the table before summoning a few more. Undoing the knots at the top revealed them to be completely full of brightly packaged sweets and snacks. "The second announcement is that I know several of you may be hungry after the shenanigans of the last few days." Mr. Sparrow grinned on seeing the attentive gaze of his students. "And I had these lying around in my pantry, so I'll be coming around and passing some snacks along before lunch." "Yes," Nika whispered to the others. "About time something good happens to us." "Hardly makes up for last night's shit show," Scifi grinned. "But I'll take it."
"The outsider suspects I may be involved in the Killer Clown's attack on Outpost Quandor," Rena observed, using their trained senses to confirm that nobody would be able to see or listen to their conversation. The human was asleep, resting on Glenn Faranix's shoulder. She had known he hadn't slept when she first saw him that morning, though the reason for that did not interest Rena, right up until he mentioning cultists of the Emerald King. Head Whisperer Ratai had received several alarming reports on the previously completely unknown cult suddenly making an appearance in several locations around the city early that morning, and he knew that didn't mean anything good. An encounter with the cult the previous night could pinpoint where they were located to investigate and stamp out. The Volster's extensive ability allowed her to view the aura of the head cultist, and the extensive masking to obfuscate it really had her concerned.
"What? Really? That's ridiculous," Nia asked, worried. "That's really not good. I told you, you should try and be friendlier to them. We need to be on good terms with his group. I was hoping after we teleported them to the Pallid Pit, we'd ingratiate ourselves with them."
"Maintain your cover," Rena whispered, reminding Nia that she was meant to act much more frail and exhausted than she actually was. "I try to form friendships, but I simply do not know how. Attempting to break up their likely conflict with House Malkar both last week and this did not seem to do it. You know, it has always been very difficult for me to understand what others are thinking, or how they may be feeling. Like everybody else apart from me has been given a script of a play, yet I am still expected to play my part."
"Rena,"
Nia began, knowing the Volsa's pain.
"I have accepted this, Nia. I fear I am always destined to be so despised by our peers. I must simply accept this as my path." "I'm sorry, Rena, but please trust me. Jack especially is a good person. He spoke up for me when he had no cause, and he's been beyond good to me. I would have helped him at the pit even if the Grandmaster forbade it. You shouldn't give up."
"Perhaps, but the outsider is barbaric, undisciplined and reckless. He was fully prepared to attack me with Phalos and Hawker earlier. And if Malakil has shown an interest in them, then they are even more of a danger than I initially believed."
"Malakil's interest is no fault of Jack,"
Nia whispered back, continuing to maintain her subtle spell to keep their conversation private.
"And that especially is why we should get closer to him without compromising ourselves, just as Grandmaster Avella ordered. If Malakil makes another move, we can better react and get more information. Imagine if we can find out where they are or why they're targeting Jack."
"As you say, but I fear that is an impossible aspiration," Rena whispered back, as the presenter on the film began to explain some geological formations. "You got any ideas about what film you want to watch tonight?" Chio asked Nika. Even the Alithi had gotten bored with the geological documentary Mr. Spell had put on, already knowing far too much about gorges from their usual geography lessons. "I doubt we could go for anything that isn't a normie film or series with so many people staying with us," Nika sighed. "I normally suggest a sports game, but most of the teams usually go on a hiatus when their corporate owners start going at each other. I'd definitely like to bring Jack into watching Battle Ring with me and Scifi when we get another series, though. He mentioned watching something similar back where he came from. I think he called it pro wrestling or something like that." "Simulated combat-like acting?" Chio asked. "I think he'd like that."
"Yeah," Nika grinned. "I was going to show him some highlights of some matches and see what he thinks. It's not a blood sport, and it's more entertainment than actual violence." "We've got to show him more of the classics as well. He's missed out on so much." Chio perked up excitedly. "Perhaps Ballad of the Fey Courts?"
"True, but don't forget he's missing out on whatever he left behind at home. Gotta be careful about what we show him," Nika pointed out, then grinned. "Also, I doubt he's going to be a fan of your crappy romance flicks. Trying to get him to act out a few of the scenes?" Chio gave the kitten a withering look. "Intersector would be good," Nika quietly chuckled. "Showing a small group of elite paladins chase down and wipe out some bad guys in epic fashion would be great. Especially once he learns that it was based on a true story." "I doubt much of the action in that actually happened, you know." Chio raised her eyebrows. "It's a bit unrealistic, but he definitely likes action flicks." "We know a lot of action went down. Who's to say it didn't go down like that?" Nika countered with a shrug. "Besides, it's more about why they did it and what the consequences of success were. Action or not, it's a feel-good thriller." "True. Much of what he has experienced as he's been adjusting has been negative, and from what we know, he definitely isn't used to our lifestyle. Showing him some more positives of life here would be good. I wanted to take him to the Etheria Grand Library, but it sucks we're stuck in a rut of taking up jobs to make sure we're more secure in the longer term." "Hey, even if we were secure, we'd probably be taking jobs anyway," Nika reasoned. "All the good places shut down when the megacorps come out to play, so we might as well do something to pay our way for when things die down and get normal again. Being secure is one thing, but actually living is another." "But last night was the worst job gone bad we've ever had to deal with, and I hope we never get something that bad ever again," Nika acknowledged. "But other jobs we've taken have been fine. We just need to be more careful. It's not like we're committing to a full run. We just need to keep our ears open for anything. And if it's quick and easy, we can take a look." "True," Chio acknowledged. "But honestly, I can't bear even thinking about jobs right now." Yeah, Nika agreed. I don't want to take on anything for the foreseeable future, but I know we'll need to at some point. If we do, it'll have to be for a damn good reason.
Yes, Chio nodded. It was like you said, we need to live. Let's have some fun tonight, get rested up, and get the memory of last night out of our heads before we try for another job.
Sounds good to me, Nika sighed, as she relaxed back in her seat, happy to doze off. So, what else do you think we can get up to for fun?